Funding for Shaperillis is provided by
Squarespace, the sponsor of today's video. Whether starting a new business or keeping up your growing brand, Squarespace is the all-in-one website builder to engage with your audience and let your business thrive. Shortly after finishing my Disney ranking, I figured, what the heck? There's a lot less direct-to-video sequels than there are main Disney movies. I could probably knock all of those out lickety-split. How bad can it be? Yeah, so this was horrible. Don't ever do this. Obligatory history lesson for those of you who are uninformed, I guess. Back in the 90s, Disney commissioned one of their smaller studios to start making low-budget sequels to their most popular films. That would then just get released straight on video instead of coming to theaters. It was just a big money-making scheme. Kinda like their current trend of live-action remakes, except not as bad because there was at least some creativity displayed with some of these movies. They just mostly weren't very good. Since Disney, the corporation, didn't really care about quality control, they just wanted something with the popular characters you all know and love slapped onto the cover, since that would enable them to make a quick buck. Eventually, this trend died down, and now we're just kinda left with the aftermath. 27 bizarrely conceived films of varying degrees of not greatness. Most of them are bad, a couple of them are okay, and a few are even good. But there's absolutely no surprise masterpiece waiting for us at the end of the tunnel here. With that said, it's not like the Illumination ranking where there was a clear best film from the start. So I'll still be going worst to best on this one, since there is some suspense to be had at least. Also, I decided against including an extremely goofy movie, since even though it came out from the same studio as the rest of these movies, it's not technically a sequel to an official Disney Animation Studio feature. So I don't think it really counts for the purposes of this list. But if you're curious, I would probably rank it 5th place. Maybe I'll talk about the Goofy movies at some point, I don't know, leave me alone. All I know is, the movies I had to watch for this video suck, and I want the ranking to be over and done with, so enough stalling. Let's see what the worst of the worst is, shall we?
Disappointment in the game of life!
Oh man, so many terrible movies. It must have been incredibly hard to pick the bottom spot on this list, right? No, it wasn't. It's not even close. The Hunchback of Notre Dame II is one of the biggest atrocities ever committed by mankind. Not once in my life have I ever asked myself, hey, I wonder what happens to Quasimodo next after the end of the first movie. Because it doesn't matter. He got what he wanted. He's accepted by everyone. The story is over. More than any other Disney sequel, watching this, you can just feel the creative team squirming around in the background, getting the sense that they absolutely did not want to make this whatsoever. Because really, there's nothing to work with a Hunchback sequel, and it shows. Quasimodo is the only character from the original who's given anything to do. Esmeralda might as well not even exist. The gargoyles are somehow less funny and less relevant, with far worse comedic timing, and a new song that might not be worse than A Guy Like You, but is at least on par with it in terms of badness. The George Costanza one still wants to fuck the goat. That's funny, I guess. Isn't that so funny? Aren't you laughing so fucking hard right now? Anyway, what's Quasimodo's big plotline in this epic sequel? He gets a girlfriend. He even sings the song about how nice it would be to have one. Which, you know, is the same thing he did in the first movie. And then, he didn't get the girl. But that was okay because what he truly wanted was acceptance by the community, and getting the girl didn't matter. So the entire point of his storyline in the first movie is kind of undone. Isn't that so cool? The girl is very boring. She works for a circus guy played by Chuck McGill, and he's the only source of mild entertainment in this movie, because sometimes it's a little funny how much he wants to have sexual intercourse with himself.
I could kiss me, but I'd fall in love.
But oh no, just like Gaston, his main motivation is to have Belle. He really wants this bell that has gems inside, because the writers don't know how bells work. So he steals the bell, and Quasimodo's like, oh no, you were using me, lady. And she's like, no, this is a misunderstanding. And God, I hate this. I hate this so much. I hate literally everything about this movie. Nothing about it is good. It is one of the most insultingly terrible experiences I've ever had in my life. Did I mention that Haley Joel Osment plays Phoebus and Esmeralda's kid?
That's nuts!
Who is a completely pointless character that only exists to get kidnapped in the third act? I mean, at least he has a role in the story, unlike Esmeralda. I'm done talking about this one. Nothing in it is necessarily infuriating, but it is such a huge wad of worthlessness that its mere existence makes me angry. They really should have known better than to try and create a sequel to Hunchback. Not only because the original didn't even do that well financially to justify it, but mainly because they couldn't even muster up an ounce of the artistry and majesty that went into the original. Imagine taking one of the richest and most thematically mature kids movies of all time and making a sequel that stands for and is about nothing. A completely empty and vile experience that should not be seen by anyone.
If he doesn't treat you right by now, you're gone. I'm gone. Now go chop his dick.
Belle's Magical World. Wow, what a great movie. I love seeing my favorite characters moving at 10 frames a second and looking absolutely hideous. You know that derp face Belle makes in this movie that everyone loves to point out? Yeah, that wasn't even like a smear frame someone took a screenshot of. They hold on that shot. They intentionally left this in the movie because they did not give a shit. Obviously, you're supposed to go into these direct-to-DVD sequels expecting the animation to be bad because of budgetary restrictions. But I'm sorry, this one goes beyond that. It's unbelievably horrendous. It's not even on the same level of quality you should expect from a TV show, which this so clearly was a backdoor pilot towards. Hell, I was gonna say that this looks like a fan-made animation, but that would be an insult to everybody who worked on Be Our Guest Reanimated, who did an infinitely better job than the animators on this officially licensed Disney movie. And it's probably not their fault either. I'm sure they did as good of a job as they could with the $5 Disney gave them to make this. Wow, the animation's bad. What an original criticism. Okay, what else is there to talk about? Maybe the fact that this is definitive proof that Beauty and the Beast could never work as a TV show. The pacing of the original film is perfect, but all of that gets thrown out the window when you try and stretch the amount of time Belle spent in the Beast's castle in order to tell all these inconsequential, shitty-ass escapades that went on during the midpoint of the original movie. You can't do anything that takes place after the movie, because then none of the characters will be in their marketable furniture forms. So you gotta keep making these terrible midquels that actively make the Beast horribly unlikable. Like, within the context of just the first movie, Belle isn't really a prisoner and she can leave anytime, but she stays because of the Beast's hidden compassion. But if we want to consider this canon, then Belle should have gotten the hell out of there as soon as possible because this guy is a fucking lunatic. He has a meltdown because she's taking care of this bird who can't fly, and he hates birds for some reason. Except then he realizes that birds can sing, and he's like, this bird is my prisoner forever. Get it? It's like a metaphor! Obviously, he learns afterwards that the bird should be set free, but that doesn't really change how legitimately sociopathic he acted earlier. And that's not even getting into the other short, where he acts like a maniac and doesn't apologize, and then Belle thinks to herself, well, maybe I should apologize for calling him rude. This is a terrible message, and it basically ruins the entire first movie. Thank you for that. There's this other dumbass little short where it's Lumiere's anniversary with the feather duster. And apparently her name is Fifi now, even though I could have sworn it was Babette. Am I just going insane? I'm watching this movie, so clearly the answer is yes. But whatever. Fifi is jealous because Lumiere seems to be doing all this romantic stuff with Belle. Because apparently Fifi forgot that the whole point of Belle being here is to fall in love with Mr. Beast because she's really dumb. But it's just a misunderstanding because Lumiere is preparing for his date with Fifi tonight. But she is super jealous. Then he invites her to the date, and she forgets all about the stuff she thought she saw between him and Belle. Like, from her perspective, Lumiere is still cheating on her with Belle when she's not looking, since he never explained what was going on. So, shouldn't she still be mad at him? Ah, f*** it! I hate this movie, and I'm ending the segment here because the movie itself doesn't even have an ending. It just kinda stops. So I'm taking inspiration from it. Yay! I never want to see any of these characters again.
Just Jane.
Oh goody, it's another 3 episodes of a TV show wearing a trench coat and trying to pass themselves off as a movie. Tarzan and Jane isn't quite as bad as Belle's Magical World, but I don't know, neither is the Emoji Movie, I guess, so that really isn't much of a compliment. For some reason, they decide to structure this backdoor pilot like a Family Guy episode, with the characters standing around and saying, "Hey Lois, remember that time Tarzan danced?" Only for it to cut to an aerial dogfight, with the ensuing story being about a spy who's trying to betray the British Empire, and Tarzan needs to stop him. Also, there's like 2 minutes of dancing in the story, so that justifies the Family Guy cutaway setup. All of these stories are extremely not good. Jane is visited by her 3 dumbass friends from Britain, so that story's annoying. Then Elaine's boss from Seinfeld wants to mine for diamonds, so he invites Tarzan to his Minecraft server. But uh-oh, it turns out he was evil the whole time. I can't believe it. It's not like it was extremely obvious.
That was him.
Finally, we get the spy story, and it also sucks. Everything sucks. I couldn't believe how long this stupid-ass movie felt. I think it's hilarious how all of these stories are just incapable of using the characters they have. So instead, they keep inventing new dumbass humans who stumble their way into the jungle. And there's so much variety between them too. We got Jane's childhood friends, an evil guy with nefarious goals, and Jane's childhood friend who turns out to be an evil guy with nefarious goals. Incredible. Obviously, it's to be expected that the animation quality isn't really up to snuff with that of a real Disney movie, but considering how one of the best aspects of Tarzan was its incredible animation, that just kind of makes this garbage stick out all the more. This looks and feels like an officially licensed cartoon for the Rainforest Cafe, not something that falls under the Disney umbrella. Also, how exactly did Tarzan and Jane get married way sooner than Aladdin and Jasmine did? Who officiated their wedding? Is there a gorilla priest? I have so many questions. However, I don't really want the answers because I don't want to think about this stupid ass movie anymore. Let's move on.
Whoa, didn't see that coming.
Atlantis Milo's Return is one of those movies that's so dull and boring that it makes you question if you even liked the first film or not. I rewatched parts of the first film afterwards just to make sure, and yep, that's still a banger. This one sucks though. I previously lamented the fact that Atlantis would have been great for a TV show, but now that I've gotten a glimpse of what that would have been like, since this movie is just 3 episodes of the canceled TV show haphazardly stitched together, now I'm kinda glad we didn't get a TV show. This is boring ass stupid shit. The characters are okay in this one, just noticeably written worse and less funny. Except for Mole, he's pretty much consistent with how he was in the original movie. I also never really liked him. The 3 unrelated misadventures they go on are all cool concepts in a vacuum, but none of them are fleshed out and given the time necessary to make these stories compelling. Any one of these plots would have been a cool story for a standalone sequel, but of course we can't have that because this was never meant to be a sequel. I don't know, maybe this is a Clone Wars situation where if the TV show had been made, it would have started out with this rocky, pretty bad movie as its opening, before eventually becoming something really great that adds a ton to the Atlantis universe. I guess we'll never know. Speaking of Clone Wars, James Arnold Taylor is here to voice Milo. You know, the voice of Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars. And also, Johnny Test. Honestly, hearing Johnny Test's voice come out of Milo was the best part of this movie for me. At least it woke me up from the coma everything else put me in. Also, for some reason, the movie ends with Atlantis rising to the surface for the first time in 8,000 years. I don't know why. Nothing in this movie built up to that. Atlantis itself isn't even a factor in any of these 3 plot lines. The thing that came directly before this ending was fighting a crazy guy who thought he was Odin. For some reason, that experience convinced Kida that Atlantis needed to join the rest of the world. What? This movie sucks. Don't watch it. Brother Bear 2. Oh man, I'm so invested in the epic saga of Joker Bear and Stupid Little Kid Bear. What wacky misadventures will they get into next? Well, first of all, Joaquin Phoenix obviously didn't return for the sequel, which is expected. However, the guy they recasted him with sounds so off that it honestly kind of made me uncomfortable, more so than any other recast in any of these sequels.
I don't need some stupid bear's help, I just need the stick.
So have fun burning the silly little trinket on your own.
So yeah, that's unsettlingly different, but apart from that, the movie is still bad in so many other ways. The plot is just Shrek again. Like, oh, we gotta go on this journey that'll allow this girl to get married to her true love. Except, oh no, maybe she's gonna fall in love with the bear bear along the way. Will they fall in love? Of course they will. It's so fucking predictable and stupid. At various points in the journey, Brother Bear is like, yeah, I know we need to burn the amulet so you can get on with your life and marry the guy who has no dialogue for the first 2/3 of the movie. But first, I gotta set my moose friends up with some hot lady mooses. And then unfunny shenanigans ensue that pad out the runtime. Oh look, the raccoon stole their stuff. Oh look, he got stuck in the beaver dam. Oh look, it's more unfunny scenes with the moose twins trying to get some moose pussy. The tagline for this movie is, the moose are on the loose. Don't you just love the mooses? Aren't you glad we gave them so much more screen time? That's cool, right? Sometimes comic relief taking up too much screen time is a bad thing. Who would have guessed? Anyway, yeah, do I really need to say anything else? There's no stakes in this journey whatsoever because you know exactly what's gonna happen. She's not gonna marry this boring dude who has less personality than the original love interest from Pocahontas. She's gonna fall in love with the bear, and then they do. Wow, I can't believe it. I'm also sorry I dissed the Phil Collins songs in the original because at least they're infinitely more memorable than the bullshit we got in this one. I can't believe they made something even worse than the first film somehow. I also can't believe they made this at all. Who was asking for this? Make it stop. Oh God, please make it stop.
Gone is my lady in white.
I guess in one respect, Lady and the Tramp 2 is a pretty faithful sequel. Out of all the films on this list, I also couldn't remember what happened in this movie right after I watched it. Fortunately, unlike the first film, I don't think this one even has fans who would be upset if I don't go into detail on why I don't like it. I'll just go off of what I remember. Did you want to see more of Lady and the Tramp in this Lady and the Tramp sequel? If you answered yes, go fuck yourself. Lady is in this movie for like 4 minutes and Tramp doesn't fare much better. Instead, we're just following their son Scamp on his stupid adventure, where he meets a bunch of junkyard dogs and then a nefarious leader dog. I guess I'll give the movie this over the first film. It does introduce its main villain earlier than the last 10 minutes. Other than that, it's worse than the original in every regard. And I already didn't hold the original in very high esteem, so yeah, this is not a good sign. At one point in the middle, the leader dog who has history with Tramp realizes, hey, this stupid kid might be Tramp's son. Apparently, he didn't notice within 2 minutes of meeting this kid that he looks exactly like Tramp, but smaller. That somehow didn't set off any alarm bells in his brain. I think the lovely Italian stereotypes from the first movie showed up at one point, so that was nice. I don't know, I'm really struggling here, guys. I remember literally nothing else, and is it really worth it for me to rewatch clips from this movie in order to accurately tell you why it sucks? Is this video or your life genuinely going to be improved by a more accurate synopsis of Lady and the Tramp 2 Scamp's Adventure? Let's not kid ourselves here. The answer is no. Next movie.
I'm not like other girls.
Mulan 2 is great! If you like boring movies with no plot where the comic relief from the first movie is the villain. Yes, by far the biggest warning I received about this movie beforehand is that Mushu is just straight up the main antagonist now. And like, yeah, he's obsessed with keeping his status as a guardian spirit. So much so that he actively sabotages Mulan and Shang's relationship, just so he doesn't lose his position where he can boss all these other ghosts around and have them cater to his every whim. He's so likable, guys. What a great character. And like, it's not like making him a horrible, selfish, unlikable prick was an accident. The movie is fully aware that he's inciting the conflict. The cricket tries to stop him at every turn, almost like he's his conscience or something. Whoa, crazy. The best scene in the movie is where he finally confesses after the guilt gets to him, and Mulan just tears into him, saying how shitty this was of him to do. Very justified and great to hear, but it doesn't really excuse how miserable it is watching this self-righteous prick ruin a relationship for completely self-centered reasons. And on top of all that, instead of Eddie Murphy, Mushu's voiced by a white guy. Huh? Anyway, this is a Mulan sequel, so I'm sure there's gonna be some cool action, right? Ha! No, idiot! Instead, they just got to escort these 3 princesses to be arranged married in this completely made-up place called Qigong. It doesn't exist in real life, so I have no idea where the writers got the idea for this name from. Anyway, the 3 princesses fall in love with the 3 comic relief guys from the original. And while it's predictable, I don't know, it was kinda sweet seeing them all connect. I was more invested in those 3 relationships than Mulan and Shang's, to be honest. Like, obviously I was mad Mushu was actively trying to ruin Mulan's happiness, but aside from that, I kinda didn't care if Mulan and Shang remained together in the end. The romance in the first movie is not the focus of the story, not by a long shot. And so, once you remove Shang's raging bisexuality from the equation, it's pretty clear that this is one of the more boring Disney couples. Anyway, this whole movie is relationship drama, mixed in with some fine but forgettable slice-of-life escapades with the side characters and their new GFs. Aren't you glad this is the sequel to a movie where a woman saves all of China? Isn't this exactly what you wanted Mulan to be doing after that? I don't know, it's not the worst. The animation's okay, the songs are not that bad. The side characters are still funny, even Mushu gets some laughs in spite of his character assassination. But yeah, this is pretty obviously one of the worst stories they've ever told in these direct-to-DVD sequels. For so many reasons. They don't even resolve the overarching war conflict at the end because nobody gets married. Therefore, there's no alliance and the Mongols are free to kill everyone. Honestly, after seeing this movie, I kinda don't mind that everyone in it probably dies. Overall, a supremely awful film that still manages to be 10 times better than the live-action remake. Incredible.
The talking dog at the Shell Shack is singing!
Okay, so I kinda have this tinfoil hat theory with the Disney sequels. You'll notice that they made a lot of follow-ups to the old-ass dog movies, those being Lady and the Tramp, Fox and the Hound, and 101 Dalmatians. You'll also notice that none of these direct-to-dog VD sequels are actually focused on the original protagonists. They always either focus on their kids, or introduce a bunch of new dog protagonists for either the kids or the original protagonist to interact with. This is true of all three of these movies, which leads me to believe that perhaps Disney just had a bunch of dog movie scripts lying around the office, only for them to repurpose them and shove these existing dog IPs of theirs into them. Bada boom, you've got a new movie on the shelf based on an existing property. Even though when you watch it, it has basically nothing to do with said existing property. And don't get me wrong, while Lady and the Tramp 2 is definitely the worst of these, I think I'm personally more insulted by the Fox and the Hound 2, for a couple reasons. The first of which being, unlike Lady and the Tramp, I actually liked the original Fox and the Hound. I thought it was a really bittersweet and engaging story about a friendship being tragically torn apart. But I guess now we have this midquel, which is completely tonally incongruent with the original film. Now the main characters are these singing stray dogs, and Copper wants to be a part of their band. But uh-oh, he spent one day away from Todd, so now Todd thinks their friendship is over. Oh no, that's so sad. What do you think is going to happen? Why do they keep making these god-awful, tensionless midquels? Who asked for a midquel to Fox and the Hounds that isn't about the main characters, but is instead about these stupid-ass singing dogs and their stupid-ass infighting? I don't care about any of them. I can't even enjoy the fact that this movie is 69 minutes, because there was nothing enjoyable about that 69 minutes. Pretty animation, the occasional funny joke or charming, fleeting moment that captures the spirit of the original. That's about it. I kind of feel insulted that I have to review it as one of the Disney sequels, because again, this reeks of a repurposed script that had nothing to do with the Fox and the Hound, before Disney got their grimy, money-hungry fingers all over it. Very stupid, and I'm never gonna remember anything about it, most likely.
Why won't you sing?
Because singing killed my wife, Tails.
The Little Mermaid Ariel's Beginning has one of the dumbest concepts for any of these Disney sequels. Oh no, a prequel about how King Triton hates music. Why? Because his wife got hit by a boat since she was trying to retrieve a music box. I'm sorry, that was her mistake. She was just being stupid. But of course, Triton assumes the problem was music and bans all music from the kingdom. Because his wife was trying to grab a music box when she died. Are you fucking serious? At least in Coco, music getting banned sorta makes sense. Like, I can see why that would be a sore spot for the family. But here, Triton's just a dumbass. And so is his wife. They deserve each other. Well, at least the music box itself is probably this beautiful thing. Oh, that's bad CG. That's bad CG in The Little Mermaid Ariel's Beginning. So yeah, Ariel needs to convince her sisters and her dad that music is good again. But uh-oh, there's this evil villain who works at the palace. Oh, I bet she hates music, right? No, not at all. In fact, she gets 2 songs. That's right, she was singing twice. Lock her up, Chief. Nah, but she really barely has any personal beef with Ariel. Her arch enemy is, of all characters, Sebastian. She is constantly obsessed with getting rid of this little crab dude and taking his job. That's her motivation. She's really just beefing with this silly little guy. You're really gonna get mad at him? A silly little crab? But yeah, she gets Sebastian and friends arrested because she follows him to this music speakeasy, and now she's got his job. There's also this actually funny gag where she replicates Ariel's iconic shot in the rock from the first Little Mermaid, but she falls over. That's actually pretty good. But uh-oh, turns out this lady whose only evil actions so far have been wanting a promotion and getting a crab thrown in jail has secretly been keeping these murder eels in the palace. So she sends the murder eels to kill Ariel and Sebastian before they can come back with the music box that Sebastian wanted Ariel to show to Triton because he knew exactly where the music box landed, and now they need to give it to him so he can remember how much he loves music, because he won't just do the exact same thing as last time where he threw it away, because this time oh no, Ariel's dead! Holy fucking shit, Ariel died in this prequel film. You know what that means. Time to bust out the Ariel Grimwalker theory. Oh wait, she's alive. Yay! At least this film that's centered so much around music probably has good music, right? I mean, it has better music than Little Mermaid 2, but not by much. The songs are serviceable but forgettable, and in 2 instances, instead of writing original songs, they just sing that one Shake Senora song from Beetlejuice. We ain't gonna put original music in a Disney film. Don't be ridiculous. Finally, the movie establishes that nobody outside of Ariel actually likes Flounder, so I appreciate it for doing that. I always had a feeling, you know. Bad movie with a dumb premise and also no reason to exist. I don't even like actual Footloose, but it's better than Finloose, or whatever you want to call this shit.
Not gonna find a star like that in the wild.
Helicopter.
Beauty and the Beast: The Enchanted Christmas is the less awful of the 2 Beauty and the Beast sequels. It has Tim Curry as this weird CGI organ who has this bizarre infatuation with the Beast, and who constantly gets jealous of him spending time with Belle. I'd also like to point out that this guy was an adult when the Beast was 11 years old, so that's kinda sus. Anyway, this movie kinda has the same problem as Belle's Magical World, where it makes the Beast too unlikable to justify the original movie's romance, though not nearly to the same extent as that movie. What else is there? There's this completely pointless new character named Angelique who adds nothing to the story or universe. There's this ridiculously misplaced buddy duet between Lumiere and Cogsworth that comes right after Belle has been imprisoned by the Beast. What was that doing there? They show a flashback of when the Enchantress put a curse on the Beast and the castle. It contradicts the narration in the first movie, like the Enchantress doesn't warn him not to be deceived by appearances and he doesn't reject her a second time. But, you know, that's fine. Why would you ever expect a sequel to have basic continuity? Don't be ridiculous. Anyway, there's not a ton else to say. Tim Curry has some fun moments, but for the most part, this is a poorly paced, boring as hell slog that actively cheapens the romance in the first movie through its very existence. I would really love it if some sick, twisted fuck out there combines the 3 Beauty and the Beast movies together into one overly long Frankenstein's together film that randomly cuts between different levels of animation quality and loses any forward momentum of the plot for hours while we're at the castle.
Hi, it's me. I'm the sick twisted fuck. I actually tried to attempt this. We're looking at a 4-hour runtime at this. Also, thanks for stealing my Letterboxd review, you motherfucker.
The most joy I got out of this movie came from a meme that originated from my friend and editor Citizen Hal's Discord server, where one of the members there started making memes where a helicopter randomly shows up and the characters stop what they're doing to say, "Holy shit, that's a helicopter." We started applying these helicopter memes to every Disney sequel we watched, and it made the experience so much more tolerable. It's nice to be able to reclaim helicopter memes from the transphobes, and it greatly improves the experience of watching any bad movie, so go ahead and make your own. You're welcome. Beauty and the Beast: The Enchanted Christmas. It was bad, but the scene where the helicopter crashed into Mr. Beast's castle was really funny. The end.
And these whoppers bob out!
Whopper, 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 whopper.
The Little Mermaid 2: Return to the Sea is the first Disney sequel brave enough to address the question, if Ursula is so good, why isn't there an Ursula 2? boom, there she is. Are you happy now? Because I'm not. This movie blows. It's wild how it sets itself up as a role reversal of the first film, with Ariel's daughter wanting to go from dry lands to the sea. But then it takes that premise and just makes it lead to the exact same climax as the original, with basically the exact same villain. Say hello to Ursula's crazy sister.
Ursula's crazy sister!
Yep, that's how she's introduced. Nobody ever mentioned her before, but apparently Sebastian and everyone else knew who she was. But I guess they just never think she's gonna cause any problems for them until she shows up and causes problems for everyone. Whoa, I can't believe it. And yeah, she's basically just Ursula again, even having the same voice actress. Oh well, at least she doesn't have the same name as my least favorite Persona character. Oh god damn it! Have I mentioned yet that every character in this movie is a complete idiot? Ariel's daughter is the dumbest child alive for trusting this evil looking witch lady, but Ariel and Eric are probably even dumber for not explaining to her that she used to be a mermaid, and that she can't go back to the sea, because if she does, then Ursula's crazy sister Morgana is gonna get her. Kids are stupid. They'll believe any dumb monster story you tell them, except in this case, the story's actually true, so why don't you just tell her? This is on you guys for being incomprehensibly stupid. The funniest thing about this movie, other than the scene where Sebastian refers to his claws as these whoppers, is the fact that it takes place 12 years after the original, and yet literally every character looks the exact same except for Flounder. He's the only one who is allowed to age at all. Ariel looks and sounds the exact same at age 28 than she did at age 16. Huh? They also introduced this dumbass new comic relief duo that adds nothing. There's a shark minion who works for Ursula's crazy sister, and he's voiced by Mr. Krabs. The only characters I liked in this are Sebastian, who miraculously still manages to be his charming, funny self from the original, and Chef Louis, who's in like one scene. My friends and I had this headcanon that he was doing so well in terms of not attacking crabs, but then seeing Sebastian at the party caused him to relapse for the first time in 12 years. How tragic. We were all rooting for you, Louis. Also, how did Sebastian destroy that entire cake? He's a tiny ass crab. There's no way he would have made that much of an impact. I guess what I'm trying to say is this movie is very bad. I reviewed Kronk's New Groove alongside 24 Frames of Nick on the YouTube channel 24 Frames of Nick a couple years back. And yeah, I don't know, it's not good. What do you want me to say? It's painfully obvious that Kronk is a character that only really works in small doses. I wouldn't say he's annoying in this movie, but he's not really interesting either. He's a simple man with very little going on in terms of compelling drama. I don't give a shit if Poppy gives him the thumbs up or not. Who cares? It's literally just 3 uninteresting stories stitched together, with decent songs and a couple good jokes, but not nearly enough to hold anyone's interest. I don't know, just watch the video me and Nick made if you want more details. I don't care, I just want this to be over.
The Bakerman takes.
Well, as someone who didn't like the first Cinderella very much at all, I absolutely did not have high hopes for Cinderella II, Dreams Come True. But, to my utter shock, I genuinely kind of liked it better than the first film. That's right, somehow Cinderella 1 is my least favorite of the trilogy. I have no idea how they managed that. But yeah, this one's not good necessarily, but also relatively passable. Much like Tarzan and Jane, it's structured like a Family Guy episode, where there's 3 stories and we get into them by having one of the mice say, "Hey Lois, remember that time I turned into a human and the cat at the palace still tried to eat me for some reason?" Like, why the hell was he doing that? Anyway, yeah, 3 stories. The first one is about Cinderella trying to adjust to palace life, and it's okay. Just pretty predictable and standard. The second one is about this dumbass mouse becoming a human, and then everyone thinks he's this other guy through some wacky misunderstanding, and it's stupid. Not awful, but considering how the mice were already my least favorite part of the Cinderella cinematic universe, this just kind of feels like a waste of time. Then there's the third story, which is clearly what the entire movie should have been about, where one of the evil stepsisters, Anastasia, gets redeemed, and Cinderella helps her when she gets a crush on this baker guy. It's really cute and wholesome. And I also like this subplot where the mice help Lucifer get with this lady cat at the palace, before the 2 cats betray the mice that got them together and try to eat them. That's really cute too. Man, I wish this last segment could have just been the whole movie. And I feel like that's the sentiment most people have, because whenever I see people talk about this movie, they only ever seem to talk about Anastasia and the baker. And I see why. It's a sweet little story and a pretty justified redemption for one of of the original film's secondary antagonists. I also think in general, one strength this movie has over the original is Cinderella herself. I don't know, I just find her a much more engaging character now, and I'm kind of rooting for her to just stick it to this snooty palace lady. And her unwavering compassion when she helps Anastasia in spite of everything Anastasia put her through. That's really sweet. I can't believe it was the sequels that got me more invested in Cinderella's character than the original. But again, I wouldn't say this is great or even good. It's a collection of 3 shorts that vary wildly in quality. Plus, every song in this is some weird Disney Channel original movie-ass bullshit being sung in the background, rather than by the characters. Not great, but honestly not the worst. Even though I am disappointed that Lucifer didn't canonically die at the end of the first movie.
You're supposed to be dead!
It's not you, you jabbering ape.
Tarzan 2, even though it's not a sequel, so they should have just called it Tarzan 1.5 or something. This midquel was kinda mid, but it did actually have a character I really enjoyed and got surprisingly invested in. And that's this old ape guy named Zugor. He's kind of a strange old hermit who pranks people by pretending he's a monster in order to scare them. But he ends up bonding with Tarzan because they're both outcasts, and like, yeah, it's cliche and predictable, but I don't know, it was kinda sweet, damn it. I was actually really invested in his character and whether or not he would die since he doesn't show up in the first movie. Plus he's voiced by George Carlin, who does a really good job, and like, yeah, rare sequel W. I actually like this guy better than most of the characters from the first movie. Hell, probably all of them, honestly. I wouldn't necessarily say the characters are the first movie's strength. It's more so the story and the animation and the action and some of the Phil Collins songs. I guess my favorite character from the first film was Kala, and Tarzan and Jane are both pretty decent. But like, I don't know. For some reason I'm most attached to Zugor out of all characters in the Tarzan cinematic universe. Does that mean this movie is good? Yeah, no, not really. It's got a decent premise and setup and whatnot, but it's also a film where very little happens, and it can kinda feel meandering and overly drawn out whenever it's not focused on Zugor and Tarzan. Like, the villains are these 3 apes, and for the life of me, I could not figure out their motives or why I should be threatened by them. They don't have any nefarious goals, they just want to stop living in this ravine out of fear of the Zugor monster getting them. But then they find out it's just this old guy pulling pranks on them, and it's like, oh no, are they gonna kill him? Nah, they just kinda trash his home and then they let him go. So yeah, they're okay characters, but they kinda suck as villains that are meant to drive the film's conflict. I'm also not gonna reveal how they're dealt with, but I will say it is extremely out of nowhere and kinda forced, but also really, really funny when you think about it. Let's just say Zugor pulls a real pro-gamer move on these 2 gorilla brothers. Anyway, yeah, that's Tarzan 2. A movie with extremely low stakes where, due to its nature as a midquel, I didn't really care about the fates of pre-existing characters. Plus, it was a little boring and overly drawn out, but it did have Zugor, who is weirdly based. So that's pretty cool, I guess. Not the best, not the worst, it's whatever.
Somehow Jafar returned.
The return of Jafar. Wow, isn't that cool? He's back! This is the very first direct-to-DVD sequel, so now you know exactly who's to blame for this miserable trend. If anyone wants to go back in time to 1994 to get these direct-to-DVD sequels off the menu, that would be awesome. Please do it for my sake. Honestly though, I kinda thought this was one of the more tolerable ones. Maybe I'm just too lenient towards bad Aladdin movies, considering I didn't hate its live-action remake as much as the other ones. Or maybe I just have Stockholm Syndrome. Wow, I guess it is real after all! Okay, so what happens in this one? I think maybe Jafar returns, but I'm not sure. Oh yeah, the main character is Iago now for some reason. The central character arc is about him becoming a good guy. And he also gets 2 songs, which a lot of people have complained about. But honestly, I don't mind hearing Gilbert Gottfried sing too much. It's about on the same level as hearing Doofenshmirtz sing, and nobody complains about that. So whatever, I kinda like his song, Sue Me. There's some really dumb shit here. Like after Iago goes to Aladdin to try and convince him he's a good guy, Aladdin decides to keep this a secret from Jasmine and the Sultan. Why? Why not just tell them, hey, Iago's back. I don't know if I can trust him, but he did save me from some thieves, so that's cool, I guess. But instead, he keeps that a secret from them for no reason. And when they find out, this is used as a source of conflict. Jasmine's all like, wow, Aladdin, I can't believe I still can't trust you. Like, give me a fucking break. This movie's so stupid. But there's some other decent stuff, like George Costanza's in this, and he's actually kinda funny. Which is so weird. Like, how is he funny in this, but not in a real Disney movie? I don't know how they managed that. Robin Williams doesn't voice the genie in this one, and instead he's voiced by Homer Simpson, who isn't the worst replacement, but it's pretty clear that it's just not the same. The character still had some funny moments, but nowhere near the same energy or charm. And they at least still do creative things with Jafar's genie powers and the musical numbers. Nowhere near the same level as the first film, but at least they're trying. Not a very good film, but it at least held my attention and I didn't desperately want it to be over the entire time I was watching it. You guys have to understand that the bar for these movies is so low that I will take anything that doesn't assault my eyes and ears with awful animation and even more awful writing. So congrats to this movie for only having bad animation and bad writing. What an accomplishment. Going into Stitch the movie, I thought to myself, there's no way there could ever be a bad Lilo and Stitch movie. Oh, I don't know, maybe that's a little harsh. Of all the Disney properties shoved into the sequel machine, Lilo and Stitch has generally come out the most unscathed. In this one, the characters are still likable, the alien world is still inventive, there's still some funny moments, it's still mildly enjoyable. But man, does it take forever for this movie to go anywhere. Which is crazy, it's only 63 minutes, but it just feels like nothing is happening for the majority of the runtime. Jumba gets kidnapped by Gantu, who in this movie proves to be horrendously incompetent. At one point, he's holding Jumba hostage unless Lilo and Stitch give him this alien, and when Lilo and Stitch don't do that and try to attack him, he starts firing at Stitch instead of just shooting Jumba. My dude, do you understand basic hostage situations? This is where you execute the hostage because your demands were not met. What are you doing? Anyway, he and this evil hamster man won all 625 of the Pokemon Jumba made. So Lilo and Stitch need to try and save him. They free a Pikachu and it escapes and they try and track it down, and that's most of the movie. It takes forever to go anywhere. Plus, they really downplay Lilo's eccentric personality and just have her be super capable in this for some reason. Weird. Anyway, I won't criticize the stiff animation because this is just a pilot for the TV series. And thankfully, it isn't just 3 episodes slapped together. It is one continuous story that sets up the premise of needing to catch all the experiments. But like I said, it really does take forever for them to get to the point. The hamster is okay, but kinda just a ripoff of the French dudes from Monty Python. There's a new experiment who likes sandwiches, and that's his whole character. And yep, that's pretty much it. It's kinda cute, but mostly forgettable. I'm sure the show was probably pretty good. But much like Clone Wars, the movie that kicked it off wasn't necessarily the best.
British.
Guys, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Pocahontas II, Journey to a New World, is the actual best Pocahontas movie. It's not great. Hell, it's not even good. But it's actually far more engaging and entertaining than the boring-ass, racist-ass original. It actually tells an interesting story about Pocahontas journeying into England and trying to convince the British that committing mass genocide on the Native Americans isn't good. And it actually works? Yeah, I forgot to mention this is still obviously a work of fiction. It's inaccurate, it's still a Disneyfication of a really messed up real-world story. But when judging these movies solely as fiction, the first one is really boring and cliche and predictable. Whereas with this one, the story actually tries a little bit more. It shows us Pocahontas out of her element and reacting to this new world, and having this conflict regarding her heritage and whether to give parts of it up in order to fit in with these snooty British fucks. The film is also more cartoony and unafraid to have side characters with actual personality and a ton more funny moments. Radcliffe is back and he's still not a very good villain, but at least here he actually meets Pocahontas, and there's some scenes with him that are way more sinister than anything he ever did in the original. I don't know, it's a bit of an improvement, I guess. Still a bad movie, of course. The way the king so easily flips from being pro-genocide to then being like, actually, genocide is bad, once Pocahontas talks to him for like 3 minutes, is really dumb. And then there's the awkward way the movie fake kills off John Smith from the original. See, Pocahontas IRL married John Rolfe, so of course we gotta bring him in for the sequel. Where's John Smith at this time? Oh, Radcliffe killed him off in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and Pocahontas is really sad. After all,
Much time has passed since the news of John Smith's death.
who talks like that? There's like a dozen less awkward and stilted ways you could have phrased that. Oh well, obviously we can't just kill off John Smith, cause that'd be really dumb. But don't worry, there's a way less dumb solution. He faked his own death and went into hiding. Obviously. You might even say that his death was greatly exaggerated.
I thought you were dead.
Greatly exaggerated.
Hey yo, what the fuck? Did Megamind rip off Pocahontas 2, or am I just losing my mind? Anyway, now we're presented with this horrendously awkward love triangle. Does she choose the boring British dude named John, or the boring British dude named John? I'm so invested in this, wow. Ultimately, she picks John Rolfe and tells Smith, yeah, sorry buddy, it's just not gonna work out. We're on different life paths and shit. And also Wikipedia told me that the real life historical figure I'm incredibly loosely based on marries John Rolfe. So, you know, gotta stick to the canon. And John Smith is like, okay, and he just pieces out. I'm glad the romance that was so crucial to the first movie meant very little to both of these characters. I also can't believe the movie missed the obvious solution of just having the three of them in a polyamorous relationship. I mean, the two Johns have better chemistry with each other than either of them do with Pocahontas, so that's another option right there. They should have just kissed, and then Pocahontas goes back home to her people, and then the British never come to the Americas again. Yay, good ending. I don't know, it's still kind of a mess, much like the first movie, but I nonetheless enjoyed way more of it than I did the first movie. I actually had fun with a Pocahontas sequel. Inconceivable. Anyway, that's about it. Dumb movie that isn't good, but I kinda liked it. Moving on. Alright, before we get to the top 10, I need to take a breather. Luckily, I can do that by talking about Squarespace, a website builder that has never had a terrible direct-to-DVD sequel. I don't really know how that would work, but good for it for not having one. A win's a win. Squarespace is an amazing online website builder that enables you to create beautiful websites for your business or personal hobby. Create your own online store to sell your products. Whether they be physical, digital, or service products, you better believe Squarespace has the tools you need to start selling online. Hop on in with one of their professional website templates, with designs for every category and use case. Then make it your own by customizing the design, updating content, and adding whichever features you need. Any Squarespace template can do anything you want, allowing your idea, brand, or business to stand out. And on any device, too. You can even host video content using Squarespace, organizing your video library, showing off your content on beautiful video pages, and selling access to exclusive videos with member areas. The possibilities are near limitless. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/ShayFrillis to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
This is a giant misunderstanding. Skylar is a deer.
I'm pretty mixed on Bambi 2 as a whole. Need I remind you that we are in the top fucking 10 now, and we haven't even reached the movies I like yet. Why did I think this was a good idea? Anyway, as someone who wasn't too fond of the first Bambi, I have to say, I think this one actually has a few strengths over the original. It just also has a few weaknesses compared to the original that balance the films out and make them about equal in my eyes. For instance, this is a midquel focusing on the period between Bambi's mom dying and him growing up, meaning that unlike the original film, we actually get to see Bambi coping with the loss of his mother. And yeah, it's pretty emotionally effective, I'd say. I really felt for Bambi in some scenes, in ways that I never did watching the original. He just felt like more of a character here, and this tragic event is given the weight it deserves. I also like how they made Bambi's dad into an actual character, and how he ends up sort of taking care of Bambi, even though that's supposed to be the woman's job. It's nice to see him learn to break traditional deer gender roles out of sheer empathy and concern for his son. And they somehow got Patrick Stewart to voice the dad. Like, wow, okay, that's cool. I really like this one character friend, Owl, who spends the whole movie finding hot single does in Bambi's dad's area. The animation is also really pretty, with a lot of great shots and vibrant colors. And overall, I think it fits really nicely into the story of Bambi. But with that said, I can't say all of this worked for me. There's a lot of scenes with the side characters that are trying really hard to be cutesy, even more so than the original film. Plus, some of the humor just doesn't gel with the original tonally, and I feel like the addition of this rival asshole deer was pretty lame and uninteresting. I'd say that overall, I liked everything with Bambi and his dad, as well as both of them coping with the loss of his mom. But that's only around half the movie, and the other half didn't grab me very much at all. I guess if I had to choose between which of these movies I'd sooner watch again, I honestly might go with this one, even though the first film is definitely more iconic, and probably a stronger movie overall. This one is just a bit more entertaining to me. Is that okay? Am I allowed to say that? Or is there some underground Bambi II hating death cult who will revolt and never leave me alone if I say that I prefer the second movie over the first, even though I don't have strong feelings on either and I admitted the first one was technically better? Sorry if that makes you upset for an entire year because you don't have lives, I guess.
So we back in the jungle!
The Jungle Book 2. 2 book, 2 jungle. As someone who didn't really like the first movie that much, I've gotta say, this one is basically the exact same thing. And you guys are probably gonna hate me for saying this, but I also think that means it's on pretty much the same level of quality as the first film. Just disregard me already. But for real, there are actual strengths this one has over the original. Like, for instance, the voice actors. Not that the original ones are bad. In fact, the original Mowgli is probably a lot better than fucking Haley Joel Osment. Man, Disney really snatched him up for everything in the early 2000s, didn't they?
That's nuts!
But I personally really like it when actors I know and enjoy get a chance to play roles that they're suited for perfectly. Such is the case with John Goodman as Baloo. What an inspired casting choice. I love the energy he brings to this part. And Shere Khan, guess who they got to play him? Tony Jay, the voice of Frollo. Again, legitimately perfect, no notes. I also have to give this movie credit for actually giving us an emotional goodbye between Mowgli and Baloo. Something the first movie forgot to do because Mowgli was too worried about getting in this girl's DMs. So it's nice to actually get that scene here at the end because, yep, this is the exact same movie as the first. Mowgli is torn between the jungle and the man village, so he and Baloo wander through the jungle and meet kooky characters, and Shere Khan also wants to kill him. Pretty much the same, except now the girl from the village is looking for him, because she thought she could find him by herself in the dark jungle instead of alerting the adults. I thought this character was supposed to be not stupid. Anyway, yeah, they all find each other, there's emotional misunderstandings and conflicts, then there's an action climax with Shere Khan where for a second it looks like he fucking dies. But nah, man, don't be silly. We can't just kill off the vicious tiger. He survives this statue falling on him somehow, and his fate is just having this one vulture crack jokes at his expense. Oh yeah, and this vulture was voiced by Phil Collins. What was going on with the budget they had for voice actors? And that also applies to the animation. It looks great. Even better than the first film, honestly. There's some cute, decent new songs, and they sing Bare Necessities again. The credits feature a rock cover of I Wanna Be Like You for some reason. Okay. And yeah, that's about it. It's pretty clear that these Jungle Book films just aren't for me. They're incredibly small in their scope compared to most Disney films, which would be fine if I was endeared more by the characters. But aside from Baloo and King Louie, who wasn't even in the second one despite the aforementioned punk rock cover of his song, I just kind of think the characters are okay. Couple that with aimless stories, and yeah, you've got movies that aren't quite my thing, but I see why others like them. Also, I see why others dislike this one, but like the first, considering how this is literally just a rehash with the same conflict, same villain, same story beats, etc. It's not great, but I think it had some decent stuff that makes it one of the better Disney sequels I watched.
Somehow
Neverland!
returned.
Return to Neverland is a movie that sets up a really interesting premise, taking place during World War II and having a grown-up Wendy's daughter, Jane, wanting to grow up herself and put her childhood behind her in order to take care of her family. It honestly made for a really engaging conflict for like 10 minutes, and then Jane gets abducted by Captain Hook, and it just kind of becomes a rehash of the first movie again. I personally think this movie would have been pretty epic if Captain Hook got to fight Hitler. But oh well, the movie as is alright. It's basically just more Peter Pan, with everyone just being a bit less entertaining than they were before. Captain Hook and Smee are decent, Peter Pan and the Lost Boys are decent. Tinkerbell is once again being a dramatic bitch by literally almost dying solely because Jane says she doesn't believe in fairies. Okay, that's pretty funny. I'm glad they kept Tinkerbell the same consistently extra diva as she was before. It's also pretty funny how Peter Pan and the Lost Boys start looking for Jane because Tinkerbell's dying and they need Jane to believe in fairies. But then when they find Jane, they just completely forget about Tinkerbell and do a treasure hunt instead. Then when Captain Hook shows up and kidnaps all of them, Peter's yelling at Jane and he says, "Oh, by the way, Tinkerbell is literally dying because you don't believe in fairies." Like, oh yeah, that's a thing that's happening. I honestly forgot, and I guess so did the movie until now. Yeah, I don't know, it's got funny moments, it still has a lot of the same charm as the original, and thankfully the Native Americans are completely gone, so this is a certified not racist film. At the same time though, it kind of feels like there's not much going on in this one. The Native Americans in the original, regardless of their offensive portrayal, did at least serve as another faction that made the story and the world feel more alive and interesting. So maybe their absence here could have been filled with a new, non-offensive group. Like, I don't know, what's the deal with these mermaids? What's their story? I just feel like by focusing exclusively on the Lost Boys and Captain Hook's crew, it kinda narrows the scope of the original rather than expanding it, which isn't really what you want out of a sequel. Neverland should be filled with endless wonder, and yet this movie makes it seem like we already reached the end of the wonder in the first film, since this one's just more of the same. Again, this is why you introduce Hitler in the sequel, you cowards. Whatever, it's a cute little movie if you want more Peter Pan, and it is pretty tonally consistent with the original. That is, outside of the aggressively early 2000s pop songs they play. I was actually getting emotionally invested in an early scene, and then they played a 2000s pop ballad and I started laughing. So, great work there. Overall, an alright little movie. I just wish it was a bit more original.
Romeo and Juliet Lion movie.
I've heard pretty mixed things about The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride over the years. Tons of people swear by it and say it's an underrated classic and that they want to fuck the emo lion. And other people hate it and think it's a bastardization of the original film. Me personally, I think it's just kind of okay. Like, compared to most direct-to-DVD sequels, it's a masterpiece. It's pretty clear that they put some actual effort into the animation and the characters and the songs, and like, yeah, nothing is on par with the original, obviously, but I absolutely wasn't expecting it to be. Even so, it can be kind of fun to be a pedantic asshole and compare aspects of these films. Like, remember how impactful the opening shot of the original was, as well as the dramatic thud of the title drop right after the music swelled? Well, in this movie, it just kinda opens. Just a casual fade into some random giraffes. Like, yep, this is the sequel to one of the most influential and beloved animated films of all time. No big deal. And instead of an impactful title drop, it just happens after a random Timon and Pumbaa joke. That's more than a little wonky, but again, it would be stupid and disingenuous to try and hold this to the same standard as the original. For what it is, it's solid. The new characters are pretty decent. I think it's a fun idea how the sequel to Lion Hamlet is just Lion Romeo and Juliet. Timon and Pumbaa are honestly just as funny as ever, and they steal any scene they're in. A lot of the new songs are surprisingly pretty solid. I thought Rafiki's Love Ballad was pretty catchy, My Lullaby isn't a half-bad villain song, and Not One of Us goes really hard. Like, I wasn't expecting that, but it's kinda on the same level as like a real Disney song. It was kind of hilarious at some points seeing random background animals start singing. I don't know, maybe it's because none of them really talked in the original, but it's just kind of jarring and unintentionally funny. Speaking of unintentionally funny, there's this nightmare Simba has that's supposed to be dramatic, but yeah, that probably got the biggest laugh out of me out of anything in the entire Lion King franchise. Right up there with,
if this is where the monarchy is headed, count it out.
And in general, the idea that there's this whole tribe of outsider lions that never existed in the first movie is just kind of ridiculous. Like, where were they when everyone was attacking Scar at the end?
Maybe they went to get juice or something.
The movie really should have opened with a flashback scene with Scar that took place during the first movie in order to better establish that these characters existed at all. But whatever. Once you accept that they were apparently here the whole time, the story is mildly investing, if a bit slow and incredibly predictable. Even so, it held my attention the whole way through and I had a pretty decent time with it. Nowhere close to the first movie, but given what I've come to expect with these direct-to-DVD sequels, not really a bad time. In spite of its faults, there's a lot to like here and a lot of clear effort they put in that I gotta respect. Pour one out for Nuki though. He was my favorite crackhead lion. Rest in peace.
We're going back in time to the first
Cinderella
to get
Cinderella
off the menu.
Oh, baby. This is the one, right? This is the one everyone considers to be really good? Well, sorry to bust your bubble, but it's also just kind of okay to me. Like, I totally understand the appeal. The premise is really creative and fun, and there's actual stakes. When the fairy godmother gets turned to stone in the first 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, shit's actually going down in this one. That's pretty cool. There's a ton of actually funny moments here. Not just the scene where the prince jumps out the window. That's gold, obviously, but there's also a ton of other great funny lines.
Our troubles are over!
A stick.
Ooh, let's beat her with it.
Oh yeah, and the prince is actually a character in this one for the first time. That's cool. He's fun and enjoyable to follow as he tries to break free of Lady Tremaine's mind control. It's neat stuff. Overall, a far more compelling film than the previous two Cinderellas. But there's just a few things for me that keep it from being legitimately good. Like, for instance, the fact that Cinderella II basically doesn't exist. Remember when Anastasia had a character arc and fell in love with this baker guy? Yeah, that never happened. Now instead, she's the one who Lady Tremaine is pushing to marry the prince. And she has an entirely new character arc where she learns to be unselfish and let Cinderella have her happiness. And it's like, okay. It's not like they forgot about the baker either. He shows up in a photo in the credits, so like, why did they feel the need to do this? Couldn't we have given Drizella a character arc this time instead of having Anastasia learn to be a good person twice? I don't know, maybe Drizella's gay or ace and she doesn't want the prince. Although I kind of feel like I'm putting more thought into this character than the writers of all three Cinderella movies put into her. Okay, whatever. I can accept this as its own different continuity from the second film. But even then, I feel like not much happens in the middle chunk of this movie. The beginning and the third act is where all the cool magic shit is, but Lady Tremaine doesn't really use the wand for anything in the middle, even when it would legitimately be helpful, like magically making Anastasia learn how to dance. She just doesn't make use of the limitless potential of this premise for a while there, and I don't know why. Instead, the middle is mostly about Cinderella sneaking around the palace to get the wand, and Anastasia going through a character arc again. Fine stuff, I guess. It's nice to see Cinderella be even more proactive, and I'm definitely invested in her quest. Plus, there's sort of this nice connection between Anastasia and the king. Overall, solid stuff, but I feel like the beginning and the end are the only real fun parts, and everything else in the movie is just kinda standard Cinderella fare. Still, for the most part, I enjoyed this movie. It's not great, but it's leaps and bounds ahead of most of the other Disney sequels, doing something far more interesting than the previous Cinderella installments, and ultimately being my favorite of the trilogy. Not a very high bar to clear, but what are you gonna do?
Dad? Is this where you've been for the past 10 years?
Aladdin and the King of Thieves is neat because it's one of the few Disney sequels that actually dares to expand the universe and introduce new themes and continue the story without just rehashing the original. And, well, I can't really say it leaves a lasting impact on the franchise, since I don't see that many people talking about this movie and nothing really came after it. But you know what? 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Let's give it up for a surprisingly enjoyable and creative threequel. Yeah, I heard pretty decent things about this one going in, and that's kind of the best thing I can say about it. It's pretty decent. Nothing amazing, but for what it is, I had a really good time with it. I think its most notable attribute is the fact that Homer Simpson is out, and Robin Williams is back in as the genie. He provides a lot of funny moments that did make me laugh out loud, which I know I said in my ranking of every Disney film that I don't think the genie is as funny anymore, and I think a big part of that is just getting used to the jokes he makes. They don't make me laugh on repeat viewings, which some jokes in some movies do, but a lot of the pop culture references the genie makes are only really funny the first time. The same applies here. I laughed a lot on my first viewing, but I don't know if the same will hold true on repeat viewings. But that's not the only issue with the genie here. As much as I enjoyed the jokes, and as much as Robin Williams' energy breathed so much life into the film, I just feel like the filmmakers were a little too excited to have Robin Williams back, and maybe gave him too much screen time. He'll just go off on these joke tangents that go on forever and kinda distract from the actual plot. It's crazy how much the genie doesn't really affect this movie's story, even though he could probably solve like 90% of the conflicts in it. I love when stories have an OP character that could solve most of the conflicts and they just decide to not use them. It is very good writing. Plus, one thing they leaned way too heavily into with the genie's comedy in this one is references to other Disney films. A couple here and there are cute, but eventually it gets real old and they made me groan rather than chuckle. So yeah, the character's a bit of a mixed bag in this film, but comparing him to how he was in the second movie, it's night and day, and it's pretty clear that Robin Williams absolutely was the character. Anyway, there are other characters in this movie, can you believe it? Aladdin's dad is the King of Thieves, and he's a cool character. I like the connection he has with his son and how he's kind of this deadbeat dad who can't give up his life of crime no matter what. But then at the end, they get the treasure they're after, and he's like, I don't need this treasure. The real treasure was family. What the fuck? Why did you go to all this effort then to get the Hand of Midas? This whole rigmarole with the deadly chamber inside the giant turtle and everything. Why go through all that if you're just gonna throw the hand away? Why not just leave once Aladdin saves you? Maybe he wants to keep the hand away from the villain, but the villain's an idiot who just touches it and turns the gold anyway. You never touch the Hand of Midas, dumbass. That's Hand of Midas 101. Hey Lois, remember the time Family Guy did a bit where Peter had the hand of Midas touch, but he turned everyone into Robin Williams? And then Disney wouldn't let them do the Aladdin bit? And now Disney owns Family Guy. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. It's just an interesting little coincidence, I guess. Anyway, back to the villain. One other thing I wanted to mention about him is that he's voiced by Lumiere without the French accent, and it just sounds really cursed.
How do you think the guard got the magic words?
And Jasmine doesn't really do anything in this movie, so that's cool, I guess. Anyway, I guess there were supposed to be good things in this movie or something. Like I said, a lot of the stuff with Aladdin's dad is good. A lot of the new concepts the movie introduces to the Aladdin universe, like the giant turtle that houses the hand of Midas and this underground group of thieves, that's some neat stuff. I honestly really enjoyed the songs in this one, and caught some of them getting stuck in my head for a few days after watching the movie, so that's a plus. And the animation, while obviously inferior to the first films, still does a pretty solid job of matching Robin Williams' manic energy. It's a pretty solid time, all things considered, and a more than welcome addition to the Aladdin canon. Even if it does try to pretend at the end that the merchant and Aladdin are different characters. You can't fool me, I've seen Twisted, so I know that's some bullshit.
Once again, this whole broadcast has been brought to you by Sam. It's everywhere. Get used to it.
Leroy! Leroy and Stitch is a pretty solid send-off to a TV show I never actually watched. I feel like I'd obviously get a lot more out of this movie if I had seen the show, but it works pretty well as a standalone regardless. The pacing is a lot snappier than Stitch the movie, there's some solid emotion with the aliens wanting to move on with their lives and say goodbye, Gantu has a solid redemption arc, and that climax with all the experiments fighting all the Leroys? Yeah, endgame wishes. I think it's a pretty solid last hurrah for the Lilo and Stitch franchise. Nothing mind-blowing, but definitely an engaging watch. I wish I had more to say about it compared to the other movies on this list, but yeah, it's pretty clear that this is a TV show finale that just gets lumped in with all the other direct-to-DVD sequels for some reason. Not sure why, but by direct-to-DVD sequel standards, it's definitely one of the best ones. Okay, so you kind of need to have a degree in Lilo and Stitchology in order to understand the timeline here, so let me just explain. You got the first movie, Lilo and Stitch. Easy, right? Then after that, Stitch the movie came out. Now this wasn't technically a direct sequel to the original film, despite taking place after the original film's events. This was more so a pilot for the Lilo and Stitch TV show, which came out shortly after. Okay, seems pretty simple so far. But then, after that, we got the third Lilo and Stitch movie entitled Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch. So basically, Stitch the movie was the Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories of the series. Except not actually, because Chain of Memories actually does take place between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. But Lilo and Stitch 2, despite coming out after Stitch the movie, takes place before it. It's the true direct sequel to the original film. You just need to ignore the fact that it came out as the TV series was airing. And then Leroy and Stitch came out last. It was the finale to the TV show, and chronologically, it's the last point in the Lilo and Stitch timeline. This, of course, does not include the Stitch anime series, the Chinese Lilo and Stitch spinoff, or the manga series Stitch and the Samurai, where Stitch lands in Sengoku-era Japan and befriends a samurai. This is real. This actually exists. What is this franchise? I don't even remember what movie I was supposed to be talking about here. Lilo and Stitch 2, I think? Yeah, that one's good. Like, out of all the Disney direct-to-DVD sequels, I feel like this one could most easily pass as an organic theatrical sequel to the original. It's not quite as good as the original, but it maintains the same animation quality, the same tone, the same humor, and the same heart. I was just really impressed by it, and I'm shocked that they turned out such a good product here. There are a couple flaws. Basically, the film is about Stitch having a glitch that dates back to when Jumba first created him. So Jumba needs to work on a solution that'll stop Stitch from violently losing control and wreaking havoc. And he keeps this information a secret from everyone else, which is pretty much where the entire conflict comes from. It's honestly really frustrating. Like, I get that Jumba's pride is probably what's preventing him from admitting the problem with Stitch, but come on, don't just let the little blue dude run around and wreak havoc and make everyone think it's his fault when in actuality he can't control himself. I just feel like this was a really stupid decision on Jumba's part. And I also find it ridiculous that Pleakley doesn't reveal that this is what's going on. Either on purpose because he feels bad, or on accident because he's a kooky blabbermouth. I don't know, I guess I'm just not a big fan of easily resolvable conflicts that don't get resolved because movie has to happen. And there's also this subplot with Pleakley trying to help David impress Nani, and it doesn't really go anywhere. It was occasionally funny, I guess, but yeah, I don't really know what it was doing in the movie. Anyway, aside from that, everything else in this movie is actually pretty good. The film uses this Hawaiian legend as a basis for a hula dance Lilo wants to perform with Stitch, but it also serves as a metaphor for the situation they go through in this movie. And I think that's really clever and a great way to maintain the respect for Hawaiian culture that the first film had. And while the conflict between Lilo and Stitch could have been cleared up by the other characters, I don't know. I just find the scenes where she gets mad at him for the destructive behavior he can't help to be really sad and moving. And the scenes where they're fighting feel super realistic to how siblings bicker. Again, this still feels like a real family, just like it did in the first movie. I love how they continue to make Myrtle more of a little shit. Like her hula performance is just a tacky advertisement for her family's business. Incredible. And yeah, there are some scenes towards the end that are pretty emotionally effective. Despite its problems, I can honestly say that this was a really solid and enjoyable sequel to Lilo and Stitch. One that actually feels worthwhile and like it's a part of the canon. I'd honestly say check it out if you like the original and haven't seen it. It kinda shocked me with how solid it was, and I could see myself watching it again at some point. A sentiment I do not have about the vast majority of movies on this list. So yeah, grab the Ohana and check this one out. It's neat and stuff.
I am the Spot.
Okay, so you know how I had that theory about Disney just having a bunch of dog scripts lying around and they attach their pre-existing IPs onto them in order to sell them as a totally real and organic sequel to a random decades-old movie? Yeah, well in that regard, 101 Dalmatians 2, Patch's London Adventure, is pretty similar to Fox and the Hound 2 and Lady and the Tramp 2. There is absolutely no way they initially conceived this story as an organic follow-up to 101 Dalmatians. Those elements just kind of fell into place as they were making it. But, and here's the crucial difference, unlike those other dog sequels, this one is actually genuinely good. Like, no joke. This is a movie that somehow manages to be funny, entertaining, and honestly pretty on par with the original. It's wildly different from the original from a story and tonal perspective, but I honestly derive a similar level of enjoyment from both of these movies. So I think this one kinda goes down as an unequivocal success. Much like Lilo and Stitch 2, it's the kind of movie I could honestly see coming out of the main Disney animation studio. I mean, it is better than all the sequels that studio did make. So what is this movie about anyway? Legit, it's just Bolt, but good. Sorry, Bolt fans, I'm just goofing. I can totally respect how much you guys love that movie, especially since your reaction to me not liking it has been pretty calm and reasonable. You guys are like the opposite of Rio fans. Anyway, in my opinion, this movie does the whole dog thinking he's a superhero concept a lot better, mainly because it plays up the natural comedy you can get out of that premise. Oh yeah, I guess I should explain that. This movie is about one of the 101 Dalmatians who feels pretty out of place in his family, since I guess all 100 of his siblings don't like him. Okay, sure, seems totally believable. But after accidentally getting left home alone, he comes across this dog who plays a superhero on a TV show he likes. And Super Dog is worried because his sidekick, George Costanza Dog, told him they're gonna replace him. So he tries to perform an act of heroism in real life. All as the Dalmatian, Patch, helps him since he's an expert on the show. And yeah, all the shenanigans they get into are really funny, there's a ton of great jokes from other characters, and the bond they start to form is pretty charming and sweet. It's a simple, but really effective story. And you don't really miss the protagonists from the first movie that much because Patch and Thunderbolt are just so fun to follow. And that's not even getting into Cruella de Vil in this movie. Oh my god. Basically, she falls in love with this eccentric artist Lars, who's easily one of the best characters to come out of any of these direct-to-DVD sequels. And at first, they just kind of make art together, and it's weirdly funny and charming. Until she tells him that she wants to use the puppy's coats as a canvas, and he's just like, "Why would you do that?" So she just kidnaps him and reverts back to her old ways, leading to a batshit fun climax. I feel like most of this segment has just been me explaining the plot, but like, I don't know how else to convey the fact that this movie is genuinely really enjoyable. It probably could have functioned as a standalone story, but I don't know. I think having a villain as iconic and deliciously despicable as Cruella is a massive boon, and it surprisingly fits in really well with the washed up superhero actor plotline. Both of these stories just have such a manic energy to them, and they intersect in really fun and believable ways. This all makes for a movie that utterly shocked me with how good it is. It's fun, funny, heartfelt, and an absolute delight of a time. Nothing mind-blowing or anything, but it is better than more than half of the official Disney animated canon, which is an insane feat for a direct-to-DVD sequel. An easy recommendation whether you've seen the original film or not. This probably should have topped my list, but well... Guys, I'm gonna be real with you. There was never any other real contender for number one. Even if I ended up liking one of these other movies I had never seen before better, I'm physically incapable of ranking them higher than the film that was predestined to be number one. After all the garbage this ranking put me through, I deserve an unquestioned, self-indulgent number one pick. It's a Disney sequel ranking. I already lost the moment I chose to watch all these films. I will have gained nothing from this ranking unless I choose to embroider the top spot of my list with the one film that means more to me than all the rest of these movies combined. Lilo and Stitch 2 and 101 Dalmatians 2 are probably better movies than this film, so I want them to take a good look at the coveted number one spot. This glorious position as the top dog of this ranking video. This status as the number one Disney sequel of all time belongs to someone else. Number one is The Lion King 1.5. Fuck you. It wins because nostalgia, which normally isn't something I indulge in, but I feel like we all have that one film that, even though we say we're not influenced by nostalgia, we nonetheless can't bring ourselves to criticize it because it was one of our most formative memories as a child. This is that movie for me. The more I think about it, the more I realize that as a child, Timon was kind of my hero. Something about this theater kid with huge ambitions beyond the life he had really resonated with me. I don't really know how else to describe it. I was just always inspired by this gay little meerkat choosing to take life by the horns and find something greater for himself out there. But more so than my own personal adoration for it in my youth, I just feel like this is a movie that pretty much accomplishes everything it sets out to do. It's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, but with Simba's gay dads. It integrates Timon and Pumbaa into the existing Lion King film pretty seamlessly. Like, okay, Timon not knowing who Rafiki was in the original doesn't really make sense since he meets him earlier in this movie. But like, otherwise, I weirdly have no trouble believing this is a part of the story. Even more so than Lion King 2, which invented a whole new pride of scar-loving lions that came out of nowhere. Here, sure, this is happening in the background. Why not? Hell, you know how I said some sociopath out there should edit together a cut of all three Beauty and the Beast films? Well, why don't you just edit this movie together with the original Lion King? At least the animation will be consistent. I'm sure the movie itself wouldn't be as good, and the pacing would definitely be off if you inserted all the 1.5 content into the original. But, fucking, I want to see it. It's the Snyder cut of the Lion King cinematic universe. Make it happen, rogue editor out there. For real though, even though I don't want these scenes inserted into the original film for pacing reasons, I feel like this movie does legitimately give me more of an appreciation for Timon and Pumbaa raising Simba. Snail slurping is kinda gross, sure, but there's something so novel and heartfelt about the extent these two went through to keep him out of danger during his youth, as well as that random-ass sunrise-sunset scene. Watching this movie as a kid was actually the first time I experienced that song, to the point where I watched Fiddler on the Roof for the first time and turned into that Leo pointing meme. Speaking of that scene, it's really funny. And you know what else is really funny? The rest of the damn movie. Not every joke is a winner, but the stuff in this that makes me laugh hard. When Pumbaa sits on the remote and changes the movie to the shopping network. When Timon tries to distract Shenzi by proposing to her. The hilarious way Timon was responsible for ruining the I Can't Wait to Be King song. Pretty much Uncle Max's entire character. They got Jerry Stiller for this motherfucker. That's awesome. Plus Julie Kavner, Marge Simpson herself, as Timon's mom. She's really funny and kind of heartfelt in this role. I genuinely believe the connection Timon and his mom have, and their reconciliation towards the end is honestly really sweet. I like the montage where Timon and Pumbaa try to break up Simba and Nala but ultimately fail. They're literally doing the exact same thing as Mushu in Mulan II, except here it's played entirely for comedy and not the crux of the fucking story. What else? Oh yeah, so obviously you can tell at a glance that the animation is legitimately up to snuff with the original film, which is hilarious considering how inconsequential and non-pretentious this movie's story is. But you know what else is up to snuff with the original film? The music. Oh man, the music! It mostly becomes licensed songs and repeats from the original film by the second half, all of which are pretty good and fitting in terms of tone. But holy shit, the original songs in this movie are bops. Everyone remembers how catchy Digatana is, and yeah, it is. Like, there was no reason to go that hard on it. But the same absolutely applies to Timon's I Want song. That's all I need. I fucking love this song. I made an AMV of it on my second channel with Reagan from Mob Psycho 100 singing it. It's such an unexpected gem. The melody is largely lifted from a cut song from the original film, Warthog Rhapsody. And honestly, that's a bop too. I like it better than Hakuna Matata, to be frank. I wish the entirety of That's All I Need got to be animated, but I guess they didn't have the budget for all that. And that's what my Reagan AMV is for, baby. I could probably go on about this film and how much it means to me, and how much the Virtual Safari is the greatest DVD extra of all time, but I suppose maybe an entire video dedicated to this film would suffice. I guess the bottom line I want to get across is, regardless of my nostalgia propping it up higher than it probably deserves, I just think it's genuinely, and rather unexpectedly, a good fucking movie. Like, a fun, endearing, worthy companion piece to the original. For having a premise that essentially just boils down to a series of cute little gags following the original film's comic relief, I think it genuinely has a great heart to it, which you can feel in the animation, music, voice acting, everything really. It feels like everyone making this was just really passionate and had a lot of fun with it. And that energy is infectious. This is without a doubt my favorite of the Disney sequels. And the fact that Timon has always been one of my favorite Disney characters probably plays a large part in that. But I can't help it, man. I wouldn't call this a great movie or anything, but I nonetheless love it with all my heart and could probably watch it over and over without ever getting tired of it. What else can I say? Hakuna Matata. Good night, Tri-State area.